Hey guys, Thomas is Tom here to review the movie Doom Annihilation. So I guess this is either a proper sequel or, well, yeah, a sequel to the movie Doom, since it's not just called Doom. This is, of course, in the vein of a video game movie, obviously, with the title at hand. So, with that being said, just to go over it, I know I didn't properly review Doom on my channel, at least I don't remember doing it. It featured The Rock, and it wasn't great. And of course, I would maintain that the current video game movie to beat in terms of quality from video game 2 movie would probably be Silent Hill still to this very day. Which came out a bit ago, so we're still waiting, but that isn't to say that this movie is terrible by any means. Hell, I would argue that this movie is better than the original Doom. But it still does have its fair share of issues, but we'll get to that soon enough. So this movie mainly follows our main character, Joan. But before we get to her, we see that the scientist, led by one Dr. Metoroga, or something like that. I forget what his old name was, but that's what I wrote down in my notes. Anyways, they're somewhere in Nevada, and they are prepping to open up this portal to Earth from, I believe the planet they called it was Phobes or something like that. And they managed to get someone to teleport through. However, when they transfer over, they come over as a more creature-esque, zombie-like creature. So, I'll say this right off of the bat. The creature design in the first Doom wasn't great at all. It was bad. And I do feel like it follows suit here, and that's probably one of the more unfortunate things, is that Doom does have very iconic demons, and to see none of those demons present is kind of a bit of a blunder, because that is one of the highlights. You would point to a creature and say, that is a Doom creature, that is sort of what we are expecting to see. And that's one of the reasons why I keep pointing to Silent Hill, because a lot of their creatures, you can point to it and say that's from the video game series. Pyramid Head is a perfect example of, a creature that they actually got pinned down in the movie. Now, in the sequel, he's a little bit more, but whatever. In terms of what he does, not what he looks like, though. Nonetheless, this movie clearly has the beginning set up after this little, scientist experiment of the movie Aliens. There's a very clear inspiration as our main character, Joan, wakes up from this hibernation tank, and she meets up with her crew, and the crew start palling around and messing with each other. We have, I wrote some of their names down. I'll probably forget what they are later, but we have Turk, Leah, Carly, Linslow, Joan herself. We have Dr. Matt, which is her ex. I think Rags is like this bearded guy. And then, yeah. And then we also have Veronica, and I believe that's all the names I caught at the beginning there. So if I did miss any, I do apologize. So we learned that the main commander, the commander on top of Joan, is getting ready to retire. So we all know what that means in a horror movie. He's gonna die. And they get ready to head to Phobes. Their initial mission was essentially to act as bodyguards for the scientist. But as they arrive there, the entire lab shuts down. So we also have our pilot, Nola, I believe that's his name. And as he's like prepping down the ship, the team gears up with all their guns. And just to prove that this is a send up to aliens, one of the characters literally mentions, what if it's aliens that we're going to find in there? They literally mention it in this movie, so it's very, very evident that they were trying really hard to say, look, we're kind of being like aliens, and that was a good movie. We can do it too. And you know what it's worth, I think they actually did a pretty good job sort of doing a, instead of a ripoff, more of a send-up to aliens. They gave, they gave the crew a bit of banter, which is nice. And so we sort of follow this team as they make their way into the level 2 sector. And this is where they find their first dead body. And they see that there is some writing on the wall. So, to make even more references, the ship that Nola is controlling tells him that he can no longer leave, and it's very Space Odyssey reference there, because more references. So anyways, so as the team is traveling with their little alien, demon map things, finders, they get a little bit confused and lost as their little devices go haywire. But they don't give in and they don't give up. And as we sort of follow them, we see that they are making their way towards a potential source of other people. And we see that there's like two other people alive. There's this priest named Harry, and then, or I think I got that confused, but nonetheless, I'm going to skip that little part in my notes there, just for the time being. Anyway, so they see that this zombie-like creature is attacking, and then they shoot it down, and then the more zombie-like creatures attack. And as I said, the creature design here is a little bit rough. And I am aware that Doom does technically have zombies, but again, would have liked to see a bit more variation in terms of like, oh, it's that particular, demon. So I'll keep coming back to that as I roll throughout this review or recap part of it. So some of the team gets marked down for death here. They see John Carmack. That name sounds really familiar too. It sounds like someone they mentioned in the first movie, who was a scientist here. So that's why I thought this was a remake, because I could have sworn I remembered that name specifically. Nonetheless, we see other of the crew get attacked. Leia gets attacked by one of those zombie creatures. The scientist lady is killed. So Joan and her, because they split up, so Joan and her squad are no longer able to make contact with the main head up of their crew. And of course more zombie creatures start to rush in. And Joan does a whole heck of killing at this point. And we also have a consistent character named Winslow. I forgot if I mentioned him or not already, but throughout the movie he does keep abandoning the crew, and they conveniently keep bumping into him later on. More deaths are involved of a bigger character. So we see that Joan runs out of bullets. She does some knife combat. We see her go for a chainsaw, which in the original Doom, the only time I think they used a chainsaw was in the first person section, and they used it pretty briefly. We do see her use it a little bit more effectively here, I would argue, but that's, it's not that big a deal, I suppose. I mean, a chainsaw in Doom is a pretty iconic weapon, but it's not obviously the most iconic weapon in Doom. So she sees one of the other characters, again, I forget if I mentioned her or not, Olivia, this other character. She sees her die. Leah, at this point, is killed as well. And we learn, as one of the other guys, I think it was Winslow, who was retreating, and we see that the zombies can indeed climb. So they're, they can run and they can climb, so they're very dangerous. So the team starts to fall back. Joan is like covering this other guy as they're like retreating. And then the dock team that they ran and bumped into like heads off with them. So the pilot's like, trying to figure out what's going on. And then he gets like killed by a bigger demon. And as we go back to the main doctor, the one we saw at the beginning, we see him start to explain this teleportation device to Joan, and then she orders her team to like fall back. She's with the religious guy and some other woman, this other scientist lady, Veronica. And the religion guy talks about how he talks to this other guy, not to Joan, but this other guy, about how he left the army because he wanted to help people instead of kill them, essentially. But nonetheless, a demon attacks him, and Joan is also attacked as they are like near or on the ship at this point. Veronica is like hidden away. And again, just to mention, because Winslow's still there, he flees once again because they were near on the ship, so he runs away from the ship. So Joan is attacked by one of these bigger demons, so this is our second iteration of demon. It's like a bulkier demon, and it starts to like suck her soul away. But she's saved by that religious guy, and then he's killed in the process of saving her. And then Joan proceeds to take it down. The demon is, I wrote the blue-haired girl, and I forget who that is at the beginning. Carly. Carly's blue-haired girl, right? So she's like moving as well. And the two of them team up to kill the demon, one of the bigger demons. So the main bad guy, Doc, and Veronica are like talking about something or other. And the ex-boyfriend was like attacked, but like he was able to get up. He wasn't killed in the process. So the people that are left reconvene at the ship. With like 30 minutes left until like the arc blows up or whatever it's gonna do. And Joan wants to get information out of the doc, so the bad one. And so they make up a new plan to do kind of what they were gonna sort of do at some point, but things are changing as the demons are attacking, so they kind of get back on that track, and they make their way to level 3. And as they make their way to where the portal was, the doc starts to like talk to Joan about her past to the team and how she made all these mistakes and blah blah blah. So the power is restored, and we see that the doc is more evil than he was prior, because he straight up stabs Victoria, the other scientist that was with her for the time, down. And more demons, the second variant, the bigger variant demons, start to pop up from the above. And in the process, Carly, the blue-haired girl, is killed. And the ex-doc of Joan is like shooting, and Joan like helps him out. Winslow at this point is also killed as he's like blown away by one of the demon's like fire blast, and then Joan kills that one. So the doc or Victoria, before she dies, tells them about level 4, this 4th level, the secret floor. So it's just Joan and her ex left. They are the only 2 characters left at this point in the movie. And before they proceed forward, they go to get the weapon of Doom, the BFG 9000. And yes, they do call it the big fucking gun, because yes, that is exactly what they should call that gun. I forget if they called it that in the original Doom or not, but regardless, it is called the big fucking gun here. So, thumbs up on that, or at least. So the 2 of them proceed on, but he's grabbed by a demon, and more demons are coming, of course. So she preps up the big fucking gun and shoots it, and if I'm not mistaken, she does shoot it more times than The Rock ever did in his movie. So we get to actually see what it does as it actually hits the demons. It vaporizes them in one hit, so it's very effective. So the ex-boyfriend was like grabbed away, and Joan's like on the path to get to him, and she's also making her way to the bad doctor guy. But by the time she gets there, her ex is like possessed by the demon. I actually wrote his name at this point. Bennett, I believe his name is. So she has to do what she has to do, and then she kills him. And then the doc like points a gun at her, the evil one. But she like grabs the gun from him and then shoots him back. But we see that the doc was, as I mentioned, already possessed, so he transforms more and more, and then shoves her into the portal. And of course, this last section is something I know for a fact wasn't in the original Doom. We actually see Joan arrive in Hell, and we see various other smaller demons that aren't either of the 2 we've seen before, like these sort of in-between, sort of creepy, crawly demons. And as well as this bigger demon with like flame powers appear in front of her and then knock her back. But nonetheless, she's able to grab the BFG in time, blast the big demon, and then as the other smaller demons are like charging in towards her, she tosses all of her grenades, or at least 2 of them, back behind her, and then she was backed up against the portal, so she blasts herself through the portal while also grenading the demons behind her. So she gets teleported, and she gets teleported to Earth and the scientists that were there. And as she's trying to explain to shut this door down, they proceed instead to inject her with a needle, and then all we hear left as we close out are more demons screaming, as it would appear that they were going to make their way through the portal. And that was Doom Annihilation. And for what it's worth, again, I do think that this is technically better than the original Doom. I liked the banter a little bit more here, from what I can recall of the original Doom. There was a little bit of talking about and explaining certain elements of the movie, which is fine. They contain it within a reasonable amount of time, I feel. Again, I do feel like the biggest issue is, again, the creature design. I do feel it's a shame that you have the creature design of something, again, like Silent Hill, and how accurate that is, and then you look at something like Doom and you go, that could be so much better than how it actually is. And you could have so much more variety. You could have the demons that were shooting the fireballs, because I think that those are supposed to be like these more skeletal figures that like shoot fireballs, and those are homing. You have the hungry bars, which are the fat monsters with the machine guns. You have the 2 floating creatures. You have the pink demon with the horns. You have quite a variety of demons here, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing a lot of them. There's the obvious demon, the typical pink demons, and then there's the pink bigger demon, which is, again, I think they could have gotten closer to how that one looks in terms of, the actual creature design, but it's not quite there for this movie. But besides the design, which I do understand why people would be upset that, it's not their creatures, it's not creatures they recognize, I think the story is a little bit, a bit more well paced than the original, has a bit more action than the original, and has a bit of more of a team. I know that there is technically a team in the first movie, but I don't recall their chemistry with each other to be that strong. It's been way too long, but I don't recall it being that strong at all. So yeah, I would honestly give this movie a 6 out of 10, or, I would probably lean that a little bit closer to a 5 than a 7, but still a 6 nonetheless. And again, I do think you can always tighten the writing up a little bit more, that's fine. And of course, just for the sake of it having the feel of the actual Doom, just do the creatures justice, because I think that's honestly more important than anything else. Whether or not who your main character is, or who the squad is that's following said main character, I don't think that is as important as your creature design in a movie where you're hunting demons. You want to make sure that you're doing it service to what people see in Doom. And that's my review of Doom Annihilation. So if you did enjoy this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head over to my Discord server, the other to my Patreon page. Any donations are greatly appreciated. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.